So who added the HA?
I added that, sorry. Yeah, so I talked to Gorka about like what's a good time for him to meet weekly to discuss the HA patches, which we decided we'd like to do. And we thought was Tuesdays at 1600. The only question I had was, we've been doing the test meetings in openstack-cinder, and that seems to be okay. And I was wondering if we should do the HA meetings in openstack-cinder. Is that still okay? And otherwise, I was just going to send out the ML.
I'm fine with that. I don't know. Does it bother anyone if we do those little meetings in the channel?
Seems fun.
They're already recorded, right? So
They're all, you can do start meeting and it's just a regular meeting. It just happens to be in that channel instead of OpenStack meeting or whatever. Just all right, I'm going to send out the ML then. Just wanted to check while everyone's here, as opposed to sending something on the ML to ask everyone if it's a, okay, I'm going to do it then.
Well, the thing I like about that too is then the people that aren't actively involved and don't remember to go to OpenStack meeting, they can just kind of passively
see it or
so at least
learn about it right then and there.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, cool.
All right, cool.
Thank you. I was going to see if we could get an update on the OpenStack client work. I know there's still stuff being done there. It is actively being worked on.
Who else was working on it besides Shield? Are they still active?
I haven't seen much.
I forget who it was. They were at Austin.
So Jacob and Slade.
Right.
But they're,
Oh, that's right. And
they got pulled in public cloud stuff.
it's funny because we asked him in Austin to help. He said, no, you got it.
yeah, so
Well, at that point,
we
it
didn't
seems,
get raped until 4 p.m.
right.
No, not your guy. This is
Oh,
So that sort of sounds like there's a gap there.
yeah.
Others were interested.
Yeah, so I guess that's a call out to anyone that's interested. If they want to get involved, there's additional work that needs to be done. I think somewhere there was a kind of a listing to see what was missing, because I don't even know exactly where that stands. If anyone wants to get involved in that, there's work that needs to be done there.
Is there a good person to contact?
Shield's still around.
Dean.
Not on the channel, but, maybe someone on the OpenStack client side. Where things are. That's really all there, then, I guess. So now it's the new show.
I feel about it.
Well, did you get that? Was that it? No, that was that.
Oh, that's not me, that's the
Sorry.
should just add. I think you just add that.
I didn't add it. No. I want to talk about it. So, I mean, just like earlier today, we were sort of chatting about this. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, someone was working on like spec, things like that, add like actual failed APIs and all the time. They really haven't. There's been at least one other group that did the added support for doing that, like secondary equals default failback thing. And Clinton was just saying that like they kind of want to do that for NetApp drivers, but they don't want to do something that's not like officially supported. So I guess probably want to figure out. Does anyone remember what's happening with like who was working on stuff? I know Ed at like the last.
Opinions about it.
Yeah, I don't know if he was.
Really working on it. Honestly, I think you and Swanson are the most involved. So I looked at what you had. I think I actually followed kind of the same path that you did. I think that's fine. I don't see any reason, especially now since it's in there and it seems to work and it's okay. I don't see any reason not to move forward.
Yeah, just call that the official way of doing it.
You know what, that's, because there was a presentation in Austin, that seemed like we had some conversations about what needed to be done.
mostly the failback and, you know. So,
Alex was planning to do something, but he said he would like to set I don't know.
so maybe, I mean, we can check with other folks and see. I don't have a strong opinion. It does need to be consistent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I'm gonna do that, we should
Maybe
be.
the same email that is just to allow people to that whatever he or
No, he's fine today or not. He's got a bunch of stuff.
Do you know if that had any different opinions or?
I can certainly check with him, but
Yeah, I'm just curious
I
if
don't
you
know
have,
off the top of my head.
if they, what we're doing now is good with what he was thinking, or if he has a different idea.
So we should check, but if I remember correctly, the biggest concern was that like you had to go and basically like edit the database, do some not super cool stuff to put things back together. And I think if you do the default thing and you implement that, you don't have to go edit the database or anything. So
The things that Ben talked about in the presentation were specifically around the fact that we didn't get that job. And I said, yep, we made a conscious decision not to actually. Nothing to go back to. The only thing that was kind of sketchy on how that is right now, though, too, is if you wanted to then fail over to a replica and assume the use case that we said were the original one is just dead and gone. Then you may want to kick off replication to have that be a new replication.
right, yeah, that was one of the ones where it's like you basically want to make the failed over one the new primary, right?
Primary, yeah.
Yeah.
So turtles all the way down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's things like that I definitely think you thought out. It'd be interesting if you have input, if you wanted to share
When-
some ideas you have. It sounds like you've been looking at it too.
Well, we've implemented the failover part of Cheesecake. It's up now, but we weren't sure we wanted to well, we know we don't want to do the failback thing unless it's something standard that we all agree on. Right? I'm not sure that we want to tell our customers to do the failover if there's some manual process to put it all back together.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that like because all of the replication and the way that people kind of like multiplex their driver stuff, it works a little bit differently for everyone. Like for us, you can actually just make the failed over one the primary. If you edit your cinder.conf and just like put the new IP address in the like SAN IP thing, it'll just kind of work. And I don't know if that works for everyone else, but like
I think it works for a lot of people, but I think the problem is, so because I can do the same type of thing,
right.
the problem is asking the admin to modify the center.conf and take the service down and bounce it is ugly.
Yeah, and I mean beyond that, it's like it's not consistent, right? It's like if there's separate instructions for like doing this with pure SolidFire and NetApp, like
These are specific instructions. I would think it's specific instructions for that. Sure.
Well, it is right now because
Yeah.
we don't have an official way that we said to implement it.
yeah,
We hunted on it.
Yeah.
The last release, so.
and I mean even the little bit of like the failover or failback with the default thing, it's like the difference between how Swanson did it and like how we did it. End result is kind of similar, but like what it actually does for you is way different. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the nature of the disaster, right? Power is out for several hours, you fail over, and then it comes back, you just want to fail back, and put everything back the way it was. Can we make that work? Right. So that it's just seamless. Whereas if the primary is never coming back, and I want to rehome everything to
And that's
make it the primary.
And that's what cheesecake is supposed to be.
I guess my proposal would be that somebody writes a detailed spec on exactly what you just said, what you want the end result to be, and what the use case is, and then we can officialize it on.
Was there an undetailed spec that already existed?
Huh?
Was there a spec that existed that just doesn't have the right details?
There's a spec for cheesecake that is detailed.
No, for the failback.
No, there is no spec for the failback.
Are you sure? I'm like 90%
Oh,
sure
you
that
think
there's a
someone's
newer
working
one. I think it was like right after the summit. Somebody posted one. I remember reading it. They were proposing like failback APIs and stuff.
There very well could be.
Yeah.
So
That was different.
I think it was a spec. I don't know. Let's go.
Cheesecake for all back end.
Yeah, I think that was it. Sounds right, because that's like the issue John was talking about, where it's like the trying to make one the new primary kind of thing.
No mechanism is there for back end to keep the master back end.
Huh? True.
This really just needs like this to the point where even administrator can fix things up. So it's not the same.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
not gonna have the same code for J3 or J3, so they're not gonna see those as the same.
they're
So-
gonna look at that anyway.
No.
And multiple things like that. Most of the folks I deal with on the OpenStack side, the whole point of using OpenStack and Cinder is they don't want to care about implementations and stuff.
I have something to do.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some out there. Everybody wants something.
Well, there's the two scenarios that you pointed out. There's failover and completing that failover, and then there's failover. I think that those were some of the points in the presentation. Both of those scenarios you do work.
oh,
He doesn't sign anyway.
so everyone's okay with the work being done, just no one volunteered.
Yeah.
But he writes that.
So this is only part of it anyway, right? This is just the back end C. Still the case where some people didn't want to put back to where the mistake. So
Yeah.
you could add that. Honestly, I kind of like the alternative better. Using Cinder Manage. Using Cinder Manage. So Alex listed
Yeah.
turns. With Cinder Manage.
Okay. That's to me the clear way. Get rid of it and manage it.
So I guess you still have that too. So.
I hadn't seen this thing that. So would this also work to fail back to A?
I think so.
You should do.
I don't think he had that case in mind, but I think it, looking at just
Yeah, it shouldn't be. In the case of cheesecakes, in theory, A is already blown up, so you knew A is A prime, which is effectively B, or it was effectively C. So
Yeah.
it should work.
Stop that! So I don't necessarily know that there's any value in doing A, B, straight back to A. What I would wonder is if it makes more sense to do A to B, and then you bring A back online and make it a replication target for B.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
A
if you
prime.
want to fail over and make it the primary.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the way it should be done, I think.
with these APIs, that's how I think you'd have to do it.
And I think that's the only right way to do it anyway, because during that downtime, it didn't replicate anywhere. So
Right.
How does it go back to A?
So it would go back to A, a roundabout path, right? So throughout the entire cycle, the only thing you can do is promote a target to be the primary. So that would mean if you wanted to get back to A, you would go like A to B, and then what you do is then add A back in as a target to B.
Okay.
Let everything sync, and then promote A, and then come back and add B as a target. I think that's it.
Convoluted way around is the only way you're really going to do it.
I think that's
And make it work for most.
Yeah, and it would work for the majority of things you should work on.
yeah. If you can't do it that way, then you probably can't do
Then you can't
it.
You probably don't do replication.
That seems okay. You write that down, or
Put it in the notes in the user pad maybe.
so that's thinking, I'll do it.
Yeah, we get that in the
So who wants to implement this?
Here's your answer.
Yeah.
Ed.
He's not here.
Anybody got summer interns left?
What are those?
It's a race. So you can type it out
Yeah.
first.
Right?
Literally.
So
Okay. Oh.
Color.
East up.
Maybe you were writing down.
Yeah, you see, it's not supposed to.
I mean, since it's your proposal, you'll code it, right?
I'll probably write it if I have time.
So
I noticed last night I signed myself up for it, so I don't know if I'll get to this or not. And if I do, it'll be the last week of the
yeah, put something on my backlog to look at it, but
It's a long backlog.
yeah. I mean, quite frankly, no one's asked for it yet, so it's like,
Well,
yeah, they will. Yeah, you can tell them it's coming. Point them to the spec. Do it next
and
week.
go wait for a captain.
Yeah, give it 8 months. It'll show up in fuel.
It takes a year before customers get new code in.
Putting down Newton code now and using that in production.
Yeah, there's always a few crazies. Although I'd prefer they use that than
Oh yeah.
like Juno and Kilo. His house.
Okay, we're done right there. Is there anything else with replication fallback, or we good on that topic?
because it was a while back that Nova folks I think it was, kind of started that effort, and as things go, as goes in Nova, so goes everywhere else. So I think the idea was the only things would be like maybe the same.
Did they move everything else to?
I think they're pretty close to having equivalents of everything else inside of.
Yeah, the idea was basically to get things that had APIs, but correct. A lot of
The only thing that was going to stay in the CLI management was the database stuff.
really has.
Good traffic stuff. I don't know.
So we have already, so I'm not going to start all over again. There are a few requirements. There are some requirements from SMART. Basically, they are saying they want us to, once a volume is under SMART control, they want us to hide the namespace, hide the volume somehow so that the tenant cannot delete it, and then suddenly SMART found out, oh, the resource is gone for them. So, but in Cinder we don't do that because the resources or volume belongs to, and tenant can see it, tenant can do things with it. But how do we kind of I don't know, set their requirements, but at the same time we don't want to have this weird thing added. So right now, in my spec, I basically added that as a note there. So they are going to propose another spec just to put this requirement on it, because this is actually not specific for Tiramisu, because they actually run into this problem already, because they are using Cinder's backup APIs there, to protect those resources that tenant can just delete them, and then suddenly SMART doesn't know what happened.
But if that's what they want to solve, why don't they just transfer it to a smaller service tenant? We've already do that.
So I think they want the resources to be what
Smaller can
Yeah.
volume transfer to that tenant.
transfer.
That's how we would do that.
Just completely transfer that to a different tenant.
Well, if you don't want the user
But he was saying,
manipulate it, that's what you
right, but it's actually the same tenant. They basically impersonate the tenant. So it's the tenant A.
No, but the point Eric's making is you
Yeah.
create a special service tenant. So
Okay. But
So first of all, let me understand this right. So Smog says, oh, we don't want to let you delete volumes. Is that what there's?
so they want us to hide it. Basically hide the
Kiss my ass.
block the- Oh, yes, yeah.
So
Yeah, so basically I basically during the code review, I think so he was reviewing the stuff. It's
I
like
was looking at it.
we never, because we never do this. It seems kind of weird. So maybe if they because this is for
Yeah, I think
everything.
We already do that.
Okay.
I
So
mean,
so
that's
what is your
different
suggestion
tenants
using
are
the?
for. If Smog doesn't want the user to have control of it, then don't have the user own it and have some other user that they control own it.
So basically, Smog will do some kind of like transfer that to a special tenant.
Yeah.
The tenant no longer owns those resources.
Yeah.
But what if
Doesn't
the
sound like they
tenant?
want the tenant to own the resource.
But if the tenant wants to do something else, they want to. Like,
they shouldn't have deleted it then.
It's kind of it's weird. I'm like, it's the same
I don't-
tenant. I was
Yeah,
like, I don't know what.
See how they can have control over the resource, but still have it be a resource the tenant uses.
Yeah, they have to use it, right? Somehow they have to be able to do something with the resource. Otherwise, it's useless. It's just protected. I mean, what?
Well, the other thing is this stuff is either user facing or it's not. I mean,
With the tenant, it's going to talk to smog that restores, then the tenant doesn't have to hold smog in.
Are they worried about accidental deletion? Is that what it is?
They already have some problem because they are using Cinder's backup APIs. I think they're doing something already, so they already have this issue. Basically, they are protecting it, and then suddenly somebody else can do it, right? Because the volume is created by tenant, and then tenant can do things with it. So that's,
We had the Tiramisu, and that should be with small ones.
I'm sorry, what? I didn't get.
I don't really understand that. I have not.
Understand what they want.
Detail of the small guys wrote. I think I agree with the first thing. Resources that are run by the tenant. Address that by blocking metadata that
Actually,
so is there a comment in here that outlines what their concern is?
I actually added that in the spec. You read the spec on line 156.
Okay.
There's a note. I just added it. I don't want to add it in this spec. It's weird.
Oh, well,
I think this
so if it's a notification thing, surely we can come up with a way to give them a notification that the tenant deleted the volume. But hiding or locking the namespace of a group and its volumes once they are under smog's protection.
but we already have the notification, like the delete volume. We already have that. They can produce that. The volume delete the notification. We already have those.
Right, yeah, so that's
Can they
one
use
thing.
that?
The other thing is, I mean, so I think I kind of get what they're at. What we could do is have a new state that is protected, and until you remove protection, you can't delete it. And I guess that's okay, as long as it's very clear and very intuitive as to what's going on.
I think that's
So
that's easy enough to do, but it still seems like it fits as just having it owned by a different tenant.
But I think it depends on the details on the reasons why they want it, because I suspect it has something to do with in progress. It's either in progress stuff that they're doing with the volume that it might go away, or it has something to do with they're not very smart and they don't know how to do things when they go out and try and do the backup and the volume doesn't exist and they puke and they get upset. It's got to be one of those two.
If it's in progress, shouldn't the volume state be something other than available?
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so, because what they do is they just create that snapshot and mount that snapshot and use that snapshot.
You're saying
The volume,
smog.
you just do whatever you want with the volume.
You're saying if smog is doing something in progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if
I don't know.
they're using Cinder APIs, so Cinder's
I don't know.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably should set up a meeting with them. Yeah, we should probably set up. They have a meeting, but their meeting is kind of changing everything, so it's hard to keep track because they have different times. We can probably should I will contact them and probably should set a meeting and talk about this together and see so that they can explain better that what they want. If they basically just want to kind of.
I think your comment at the end there is perfect.
Okay.
Recommend smog team submit a separate spec to discuss this.
Yeah, I don't think this
okay.
should affect Tiramisu.
Okay.
That's the bigger issue that they need to figure out.
Okay. So yeah, we can probably just maybe add a copy in their meeting because their meeting probably don't have a lot to talk about. So we can add this one. Okay. The next one is the replication status. So this is a new comment. Basically saying that okay now, so we do some kind of polling to find out the health of the replica? Just to not the feel over time. It's just
Something
constantly
like-
checking, periodic checking the status of the replica and the
So like
if it failed, and we kind of
synchronized, that kind of thing, so you know that it's
so
actually.
no, so we already have those states defined by cheesecake. It's just this is just like a checking, like have a polling kind of. That's all I want to bring up because I know in the past when we talk about polling, there are concerns about performance, right? But does it make sense for us to do this for this so that we know? You can.
This was a really fun discussion. Polling is terrible, but if you don't do it, you can create a situation where someone thinks they have their data being replicated, but it's not, right? It was being replicated last time I checked, but it hasn't been any updates, and no one's gone and checked on it. Time could go by, and it could be out of date, and just a line saying, yeah, your data is replicated. Replication is the kind of thing where I think you have to, some kind of frequency, go see this stuff happening, and it's not just for a date. And that does create a big.
Why?
Make that scale.
So
Nothing else in Cinder periodically holds. Everything else is.
absolutely, yeah, it sure does. Capabilities, stats updates, and capabilities updates.
That's per backend. Nothing holds individual volumes.
But my point. So my point. First of all, yes, I would agree. I think the idea of going out and polling volumes is nutty, right? That's kind of crazy. But what kind of granularity do you need? Because why wouldn't you just, if you do on the stats update, if you go to the back end and you say, do you have any replicating volumes? If you do, are they still replicating? And then stuff in any failures into the response and say, these replicating volumes are no longer replicating.
Yeah, you could do it so like each backend on a single schedule where every 10 minutes it goes and has all of them.
No. What I'm saying is just use the existing capabilities and stats reporting that's already there.
Right. But I mean,
Expensive. What's?
if you have like 800 replicated volumes, you're gonna have to look at all of them.
Yeah.
I kind of need to know if Cinder thinks the volume's supposed to be replicated.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You only look at the ones that are listed as being replicated. So, and if that is, if that's expensive for a back end, then I guess the other thing is, some back ends are going to be different, I guess. Because, like, for me, I can go and I can just list all volumes and just go through and get the status done, right? It's not a big deal. But if it is a big deal, I guess, if it is a big deal for some folks on their back end, I think the person writing the driver should have that knowledge and that intimacy with the back end and how it works and what they actually need to check and probably how often they need to check. So what you could do is you don't update that every single stats update then. So maybe you do it every 10th one.
You think the driver has some background thread that's
No.
No, just check every 10th time, get volume stats.
Put a counter in your driver and have the driver increment, and every time modulus 10,
That's
get
what
that
we were
info.
thinking about doing, because doing an update or looking for each individual volume is expensive. Because it could be thousands of them, right? So
Yeah, I suppose for some people that could be, for some backends that could be a
there's just a
problem
lot of data going over the wire that
that you don't need.
we don't need anymore. Every time.
Ooh.
Oh, is that true?
I think I took that out.
We did, but I think we pulled it out because it was just.
No.
still in there with the first replication, and
Yeah.
There was a V1 cleanup patch that was sitting up there in a merge conflict that I just rebased. But honestly, I think we're too close to see
Just look at
exactly
volume
what I
manager
just
should be in there.
The one thing with that approach, the modulus 10, is then it's kind of up to each driver that have to know and do that.
there's another problem.
Wait, let him finish. What were you going to say?
We're just putting more burden, more expected knowledge on driver maintainers that they have to know, oh, when I do that, I gotta check this every time.
Well, they don't have to. If they want to check, 3,000 volumes every get volume stats, and you can do it, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might take long.
So then what were you going to say?
So when you plug your volume stats, you don't have the IDs of any of the volume. So if you were to go.
That's not true anymore. That doesn't have to be true anymore. So the other thing that we have that we could probably do something with is we do have that update volume status call that can be issued down.
I'm just envisioning like you have 8,000 replicated volumes. And now every 10 get volume sets, you have to return 8,000 model updates. The manager's going to have to go crunch through and shove them.
Why? Why would you do that?
Then you can change their status, right?
Well,
yeah, I mean,
if they change their status,
in the worst possible case, they could have all changed status, and you got to tell the manager. That's
probably because the array type would you probably know that anyway.
Well, maybe so
yeah, wait, hold on. Are we talking about doing automated failover on the back end and leaving it to that? Then you'll never have that situation.
So your WANLink goes down, and your replications were synced. Your WANLink went down for some reason for a period. Your replications are no longer synced. I think part of this is reporting that back, right?
But what he's saying is a model update is model update and changing the provider info and provider location and everything else. That's the model update.
You got to change something in the database. The goal is to notify the user that their replication is that synced.
Volume status. Yeah, the volume status, not the model.
That's the model update.
Yeah.
Yeah, the case you talked about, network switch goes down. So
Model update from the driver should not. No, it shouldn't be. That is provider location, provider security, whatever, blah blah blah.
Well, the model update would be the status.
The replication.
Yeah, the replication status.
I think we use model update as the generic dictionary.
I mean, the driver doesn't have direct access to the database, so once you get to the database, it's got to return a model update to the manager.
My point, yes, I understand why you're doing it. My point is that that's wrong. My point is that stuffing in changes to anything other than provider location, provider auth, provider geometry, anything that is provider underscore something is probably the wrong thing to be doing in the driver.
But how would the driver notify the manager that it's not syncing?
What do you mean by in sync? With replication?
Yeah, the replication.
So right now it doesn't because we don't have a thing to do that. But the way you would do that is you would put a specific call that does that. So what I was saying, that's what I was trying to say is in the update stats, I wouldn't go through and just report everything. What I would do is I would go through and I would just report anything that was a problem. So if there is something that is out of sync or if something is broken,
Which
then
in this case is 8,000 volumes that are no longer synced.
okay.
Because
So
the switch went down or whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you propose to as an alternative then?
We do in vanilla per share for the status update. The manager rates overhauls. It can create a performance problem if you have a large number of this data. But we didn't see an alternative because you need that information. The user needs to know relatively soon after the replication stops happening that they're not protected. And it's a hard technical problem to deliver that information.
I don't think it is a hard technical problem. I mean,
At scale.
and I also don't understand the contradiction.
Anyone can do it for 100 volumes, but when you get to the thousands, trying to do it in a way that scales.
I guess I don't.
But it's going to tell you when replication is stalled or failed or whatever.
Only if you ask that. Only if you ask. We're not going to call you up and say, oh,
Yeah.
Because
So you meant the admin, not the user, though, in this case. So it's end user.
I think in Manila the user is the admin for most stuff.
I can't believe you were able to flag somebody, the SMTP or something like that, if replication fails.
It's not just that the replication fails, right? Like for specific, your
talking about like a link failure or something like that. Where
So
It won't qualify that. That is the other case, is cinder volume is being replicated. It is set up that way. It initially was, and it was synced, and everything's good. And then the storage admin goes in and
Well,
accidentally.
yeah,
takes
but
that down.
so here's the thing. I don't want to go down, if we go down that path, that's a really big problem, right? Because I've told people this before. You're either using OpenStack to manage those volumes or you're not. And if you're going to try and do both, well then.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about the case.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about expected failures like brief network outages that cause your replication to go out of sync.
Does your device come back? So if that happens, does yours eventually get back in sync?
Yeah, yeah. The way an app works is that it's on some schedule it pushes the deltas, and if you can't talk to the box, it just doesn't push the deltas.
Well, what are you going to do? So then who cares? What are you going to do anyway?
So in the case that the switch goes down, you have other problems.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I don't know.
doesn't it really only matter when you try and do a failover in terms of Cinder's perspective?
It only really matters when you do a failover. The problem is if the data isn't there and you think it is, and then.
Oh wait,
What do you do
wait,
about it?
stop, hold on. So that's easy. So then if you issue a failover and it goes to the failover, and you damn well better check before you do a failover and say, is it in sync? And if it's not, then the failover operation fails.
Exactly.
And you say why? Oh, come on.
Know that that's going to happen ahead of
Not
time.
as shitty as user experience as a user trying to go through and look at your example, 8,000 volumes, and figure out if they're all in sync or
If I have
not.
a data that's being replicated, and because of some configuration problem in the network or something, it hasn't been replicated since last week.
I'm sorry, but I think your array should be sending some sort of alert, and whether that can be picked up by a new get stats or something. I don't know.
I think get stats.
Storage admin
Well,
should
we
be
can
watching
do that.
our network.
Yeah, but
That's
you
like
said you should check and make sure it's synced. Does that mean as a cloud admin and my data center's on fire, I got to call up the storage admin and say, hey, I think everything's being replicated here, but can you confirm that?
So if my data center is on fire and I want to try and make a last-ditch effort to save as much as I can, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to do it, right? So look, I think a combination of the two things is perfectly reasonable. I think in the stats reporting, you report if replication isn't working, you report it, and then
As a broad general.
yeah, but again, so what does that mean? So then what do? You put the volume in an error state. So do you have this volume bouncing in and out of error state? I mean, what are you going to do with it? I mean, it's kind of.
So in vanilla, we track the individual replicas. Yes, the one replica or the group of replicas go out of sync. Yeah, they go out of sync. Go back.
And you put them in an error state each time they go out of sync?
Not an error state, out of sync.
Well, that's what I asked.
State, which means your data's there, but it's not reflecting what's on the primary. So if you fail over to it, you would get something other than what you're expecting. And then you know that you're unsafe at that moment, and you better go call someone up.
So the problem I've had, and I guess we could hack it. So, okay, fine. So say you want to do, a periodic or whatever. But the problem is there's only one setting for periodic in the conf file. So it is what it is without impacting everything. So, but what you could do is you could have intelligence in a method that actually, in the periodic method, the specific one that does the skip thing and the modulus, like I said, to make it different. But I don't understand why having it in the driver versus the manager versus wherever is a big deal.
We had another periodic for checking this in V1.
And it was very problematic,
Yeah,
to say the least.
it was.
Especially because they check every volume.
Every single volume. And it logged a bunch of noise. It was
Well,
awful.
that's obviously wrong. But if you wanted to go down this route of reporting on every single replicated volume, you could trim it down to that for that particular backend, right? So,
And we have
I don't know if you want to go down that route.
we have methods now that, I don't know, maybe nobody's using them, but we have methods to do volume updates from a back end. So you pass in a list of volumes, and it goes and gets updates and updates the information on all those volumes. We could certainly leverage that.
Is that part of the cheesecake? You add up a cheesecake?
I added that. I don't remember when I added that. It wasn't part of Cheesecake. I added that because when all the provider ID mapping stuff went in, it was the only way I could think of to upgrade without breaking things. Startup. Every volume on that back end, yeah. Every time you start up, yes. Hasn't so far. I guess if your back end is really bad at querying volumes, it would be, but I don't know.
Can you add a link of that? Which function? Number function?
Update provider info. So it gets all volumes, all snapshots in one go, and returns all the data.
So in the case that the switch goes down, right, that case we seem to be talking about, the entire host is going to be down, effectively. The replication of all the volumes on that host that you have set up are going to be down. So
Well, no, it could be the back end link between the two back ends. So it's possible, depending on the back end, that it may not have any impact. Yeah.
You have after volumes going.
Well, even worse, it could just be a severed link between the back ends. But from a user's perspective and using the volumes, everything still works. Right? When you get the problem,
Just trying to think of other angles. Sorry.
What's that?
I was just trying to think of other angles of maybe.
Oh, I hear you.
The entire back end is down instead of volume in certain use cases. Just to cut down on the scale issue.
But so there was another situation to consider, which is you have two availabilities that's replicating together. You have an outage in your secondary zone, right? No one's complaining. Everyone's on the primary still happy. Replication isn't happening.
Right.
So eventually you get the secondary zone fixed and it comes back up. But now it's way behind on replication, right? It's got to catch up. It would be nice, but we would know when
Don't get called anywhere.
Right?
Yeah.
What? No.
It's called
You need. I saw it. No?
During that time,
I saw it in the sync
to tell you
sync provider info in manager in host.
Oh, that's why.
Because the whole point of this replication feature is to give users a form of fuzzy that they're protected in the case of an outage. They sleep better at night.
Right.
Does the user need to be alerted, or can the user initiate the check? Admin or whomever, but I'm saying if we can limit on the polling and all the overhead, it's something that the user checks as opposed to the user getting alerted. If you check and you do something like provider update to get the status, then you can just return the answer anytime you want the answer.
On an individual volume.
On an individual volume.
So the problem with that is now you have Cinder API synchronously calling Cinder manager. Never do that. Cinder API always returns information out of the database. Never goes to the back end to get.
There's no reason we couldn't add a call that does. I don't understand.
What's wrong with that?
It's just no protection for me.
It's actually not. It's just a new API.
You have an RPC call instead of an RPC pass.
We have those anyway. You have those for migrate, snapshot, clone, blah, blah, blah. Delete.
I know migrate has some weirdness.
Yeah, migrate's something different. Snapshot's a direct call. It still goes through RPC, but it goes direct to pass. Right. Yeah.
So it doesn't block. It just RPC just goes straight to the back end. And the API immediately said, yeah, I did what you asked.
That's
No.
Operation. Exactly. Yeah. So we don't have any situations where the API sends an RPC to the manager and waits for it.
We sure do. Delete.
It goes into deleting immediately, and the REST API returns immediately. and then eventually it gets deleted. Not synchronous. Everything's asynchronous.
But that's talking about the API. That's the API is async.
So.
I don't know, there are a few.
List might be one.
I think list management
Because
might
then
be
we
one.
kind of have to.
Yeah, it has to be.
There's very few that are like that.
I think it should.
Yeah, 'cause it's-
So wait, which is it? We don't do it, or it should be avoided? I'm confused. So,
In this
Talking about
particular
the
case,
synchronous.
if
Well,
in this particular case, you want to find out right now is this
right,
sync or
but
not?
the truth is,
You're worried about this volume.
this is clunky, but you could have the intermediate state that we use for everything, where you, okay, I want to check on this, and now you're in, call it checking, ugly as that is, and then
attach,
point, your
detach,
safe or
initialize
unsafe,
connection,
or what
terminate
state
connection,
is you're looking for.
transfer,
Replication sync,
migrate, freeze, thaw, get capabilities, get backup device, secure file operation enabled, get manageable volumes, get manageable snapshots. They all block and return.
Most of it is admin operations. Or just admin operations.
True. That's true. Some of them are. All the attached flow stuff goes straight through. The manage stuff is user facing. Well, admin's still a user, so we were talking schedule.
The theory is the admin only one for small group.
Okay. Yeah,
Whenever you have a synchronous call, it means that when cinder volume goes down, that the API can send a REST request and it just goes out to lunch, right?
till the RPC time, and then it pukes.
That's not good.
Happens. All right. Well, okay.
This seems like
So again,
the
we're good at shooting holes in every possible suggestion.
Yeah.
Do we have any possible things that would make people happy?
I'm actually kind of thinking what Simon was originally saying is the storage admin gets an alert from the array if the location is down or out of sync, and that's storage admin's role, which may or may not be the cloud storage.
The only weird thing about that is if Cinder's managing replication, Cinder should know if it works or not. I mean.
But it really only matters when you try and fail over. And you can check that state when you try and fail over and say, well, shoot, you're 3 days behind or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know about anybody else, but in my driver, I'm going to put a thing in the capabilities, and if replication is set up and it's not working, I'm going to report it and I'm going to log it as an error.
Replication
So-
in error or something.
Yep.
It's only one volume or 8,000 volumes. It's still an error that someone needs to go look at and needs to be.
That's kind of what I was getting to earlier when I was saying the entire host is either replicating or it's not, right? So that's basically.
Until Tiramisu.
Right.
Yeah.
We have something in between now and then, though. Right now, we have nothing.
I thought we were just talking about Tiramisu.
We are talking about, yeah, we started.
We're talking about everything
I don't
but
know.
Tiramisu.
Yeah, that's, yeah, right.
Yeah, if it's post-level replication or system-level replication, yeah, the admin's the only guy who needs to know this stuff. He's the guy who did.
Yeah.
And the users say, replicate this form. The users can know if it's happening or not. Again, it's really crappy to get to the point where it's having to fail over, and only then you say, oh, by the way, we lost 3 days of your data.
Yeah, it does suck.
what you really want to know is when was it last replicated, right? I mean, that's the last replication is at the time for replication frequency. That's a problem.
But not everybody works that way.
For some backends, it's not a batch job. It's a synchronous or a continuous operate. I mean, it just depends. I mean,
I'm just wondering if
This whole
if you
thing.
log the time of replication somewhere.
what is that? What is the time of
I don't know.
replication?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just brainstorming into a possible solution to the impact.
Yeah. Right.
It depends entirely on the backend.
It winds down.
some problem with portable volume.
Yeah.
So if that trigger the manager to then have to call the driver, the not thing, so we can, right? So then your driver, hopefully if the driver says, hey, I have a problem, but then you can get a per volume update into the database.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that will call your the update provider thing.
This would be something specific.
Okay, just to update the notification status.
What you described is just an optimization to update replication status. Ways to know at a whole back-end level if there's no problems. You call that first. It says there's no problems.
But again, it goes back to the same thing that I'm saying. If you put that shit in the manager, I'm going to be pissed. Because the manager, whoever's writing that code, is not going to know how Ceph works, how Gluster works, how NetApp works, how SolidFire works, how Pure works, how HP works, how IBM works, how Daytera works. There's no way. So you're not going to be able to make intelligent decisions and do the right thing. That shit belongs in the driver. There's all there is to it. Yeah, and that's fine. But again, the work has to go back to the work has to what to do with that information and what to do with that list of volumes. You have to figure that out in the driver.
Yeah, we're not going to go for that. We just update the status in the database. That's the manager's done, right?
So every get volume stats call, you're passing in the entire list of volumes supported by that backend now?
No. So the idea would be the idea is you would trigger it, right? So you would go in the capability if the capabilities report reported an error in replication, that would trigger an event in the manager that would go down and tell the driver, okay, update replicated volume info, or something like that.
It's
and then
not driver updated in the database. You just set it to be. Like,
but the driver has to be the one to make that information and tell the manager what to do. That's my point. The manager can't just decide willy-nilly.
I thought this is really just showing a status when the driver is not really having like any action. It's really, but that's what the coding thing is about. It's really just to change the status so that status is up to date. But there's no action, associated with that particular thing. This is just changing the status. So the manager can just get whatever status and then update database and done with it. And then, whoever owns the group will, see that status and then do whatever it wants to do.
Well, I think that's
because
what
that's
this new call would do, right?
Yes.
Do a model update on the volumes that were
yeah.
not being replicated.
Yeah, but I'm saying that we shouldn't be like call the driver again and do some action. It's kind of weird
Well,
because we have no idea.
It's an optimization so that we don't create the database for all the volumes every time we update that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we only do that when the driver says you need to update.
I have some kind of issue
So-
here.
Yes.
I'll tell you more about it if you ask.
Yeah.
Let's talk later.
Yeah, and if you ask, being the key, because maybe you don't give a shit.
Maybe you don't care.
Yeah.
So okay, so maybe I understand. So the driver will be like populating the whatever the list of a dictionary, whatever, right? So same thing like what we do with those model update, and then the manager will just update those, right? Is that yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
But there's nothing up, yeah.
I mean, if you want to get fancy, do like a notification.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that notification we can always do.
Which is what you should do.
We can do
Well, but
notification.
the
that's
like,
not-
kilometer stuff is usually to go back after the fact and do data mining on stuff. So it really won't help you out for the case that Ben's talking about.
This is the problem with like real time one.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do that, it's nice to go. It's not. Listen to that.
They can't. That's true. Yeah.
But I think they
We
want
also need to make the same call when everything's working again.
But I think they wanted to prevent. They want.
I guess I still have the problem is if you have a back end that's expected and it will go in and out of this state back and forth, all of that churn, that is just absolutely ludicrous. To use the example again of 8,000 volumes, every few minutes I'm going to update the status on these 8,000 volumes back and forth.
But what the admin should be seeing at that point is I have an infrastructure issue that I need to go bloody deal with. My replication is dropping every 5 minutes.
Well, I think there are some devices that's a normal expected thing.
So when people that do replication based on a time period in batch, you have your in sync, and then more I/O is happening locally.
Yeah.
And now
then
it's
it
time to
automatically
replicate
goes
again.
out of sync.
Asynchronous replication.
Yeah.
Asynchronous replication should only flag by fail when the next async period has been missed.
But how do you know it's missed? Because now that period happened, and now I have this delta that I do need to replicate over to my other side, and there's going to be a period in there where I was synced. Oh, now I've got all this I/O that I got to send over.
You can't get around that.
Yeah, but then you end up with this.
But this goes back to what I was saying. What I'm
It's not going to flag it as like, hey, Chris, that's
Why wouldn't it though? Now we're in sync, out of sync, in sync, out of sync.
No, the driver to decide, give it a go, no go. Is this broken or is it okay? The driver, the array itself is intelligent enough to know whether its replication is broken or not. Yeah. So because it's been written by the vendor to know that. It's not our responsibility to decide that an async period of 5 minutes or 5 minutes and 1 second makes it broken.
But
That's up to the array to decide.
If the use case is we want the end user to know whether when they go over their data is actually there or not, then being not on an async.
They want to know if they're there up to the hearing.
And you can make that check when you try and do the failover as well.
Well, this is our RPO, right? Yeah. If you have a 15-minute async replication, your RPO is 15 minutes. You understand that in an actual disaster, you can move up to 15 minutes with the data, and that's fine. What you want to know is it actually 2 days worth of data because something went wrong?
Hold on. You can't say that, though. You can't. 15 minutes is okay. You can't say that because your argument, especially for a cloud user, he or she doesn't know that RPO, doesn't know any of that information, right?
They should.
Why? How? How would they know?
I mean, when you buy an array.
They don't buy, the cloud user does not buy an array.
Forget about the cloud. I'm saying a traditional customized storage array, big replication.
Wait, we're talking about the cloud, right? We're talking about Cinder.
I'll get there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'll get there.
Okay.
Traditional situation, you buy a storage array, you replication. You configure asynchronous. I mean, if you can asynchronous replication, it's great, but a lot of people choose to use asynchronous replication. They think 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever schedule they're comfortable with. And then when they do that, they understand that if the primary goes up in smoke, they can be up to 15 or 5 or 10, whatever point, however they configure their asynchronous replication.
I get it, yeah.
Understood. So, move to a cloud scenario. If you want to use asynchronous replication, if the admin chooses to use it, he's got to tell his users, hey, if you pick this volume type and you're getting this kind of replication, you got a 5-minute RPO, or a 10-minute or 15-minute. That's something that the user has to understand.
So I don't understand the point. This is.
So the point is with any kind of asynchronous replication, you lose up to your RPO's time worth of data.
Fine.
And what
Here's
you
the
wanna
other
know
thing.
is, am I within that bounds, or am I?
Or if you were smart and a smart admin, what you would do is when somebody says in Tiramisu, fail over this drive, or whatever, you would have a freaking wait time that said, okay, disable that volume, you can't write to it anymore, and I'm going to wait RPO time to quiesce it, and then I'm going to fail it over.
If you're doing a clean fail, you move no data logs. I'm talking about in a disaster. If replication hasn't been happening for the last 3 days, for whatever reason.
Yeah,
what are you going to do otherwise? Yeah, what are you going to do otherwise?
The point is that you have to know that before it's disaster recovery time. So you know you're going to be screwed and you lose your data. If people are using replication, they want to know before they're trying to recover.
And nobody's saying that you shouldn't. I don't understand why this is so hard. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I don't speak clearly or what. So if there's a problem, there's some kind of alert, fucking report it back up as an error in the capability stats reporting. That will trigger something that says, okay, go back to the driver, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to turn all this shit off? Do you want me to disable it? Do you want me to error it? What do you want me to do? And do it and done. And we can continue to discuss the same thing over and over in the semantics and the argument and the statuses and everything else, or we can just move on and actually talk about the spec.
If you're outside your RPO, in that case, you put the volume in some kind of, it says you're outside your RPO.
And the array is been designed to fall back that if I've missed like RPO of 5 minutes twice, for example, then I'm flagging that problem anyway.
But if somebody puts in some driver code and they have 8,000 volumes getting updated back and forth every 5 minutes or something like that, I think that's really lame. Yeah, the in sync out of sync thing that we've been talking about.
And that happens frequently. Well, not necessarily, but
When it does happen, you want to know about it pretty soon after. You don't wanna-
Cool. I think that's fair.
yeah, and it's up to the driver to decide when to report that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So you're going to get within a minute, the array's going to alert, and within the next minute, you're going to know there's a problem.
Yeah, if that's how we implement it, I think.
You can even make a driver-dependent periodic config variable. So how long do you check between status failures for replication? If you're having a lot of churn or whatever.
They want to do that. Fine.
Yeah. But I think the mechanism that John suggested still works.
You're also interested in, after you go out of sync, we really let you know when you're back in sync.
Well, the array should then tell you that. Like back in sync, it was like a green flag back.
It's up to the driver to check that.
Continually sending a red flag.
And to decide whether to report it or not. The whole mechanism is still valid.
I mean, what you do have to do is once a red flag comes up in John's mechanism of doing that, once a red flag has come up, you don't keep doing a call to the 8,000 volumes every minute because it's still doing a red flag. It's only when you do a green flag, you then flag the database back that, yeah, this is back clean, you don't need to do it. You only call
Just make a toggle.
the first
Right.
instance that is the state change.
Do we even need to know each individual volume?
I don't think you can.
I don't think so.
Well, actually, yes, you might do, because what if your packet array is replicating to two different arrays? Some volumes go to one array, some volumes go to another array.
It's also possible that different things come back into sync.
Yeah. But I'm thinking if there's an issue, whether it's 1 volume or 8,000 volumes, there's an issue. Either case, you're going to have to go to the store
Yeah,
and
some
say,
volumes might not
hey, can you
have
take a
an
look
issue.
at my replication? Something's
Some
messed up.
volumes might not have an issue.
We're all good with
Yeah.
Just
sort of circling around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we should talk about changes.
How this will affect you.
No, this works.
So we have a capability that we're going to report on as working or not. And when it's not, the driver gets another call about volumes to do whatever it wants.
I think we already have it.
Do we have it?
We might have something.
Yeah, we don't have it, but I think we have. I think we have a replication status.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that would be it.
Well,
Yeah, what we use that for.
so replication status is like enable. Not necessarily like enable.
So according to the reference implementation and the reference documentation, enabled, disabled, failed over, error, and then in parentheses, possibly other things. Well, I think the disabled and failed over, that got added because we needed it. Anyway, the point is we could add another thing in there, right? I mean,
Who caused this application relationship thing?
Questionable.
Update the application relationship status. Who caused?
Unknown.
You? Did you add it? Update application status. Did you add it?
I didn't add that.
That-
What are you
the other
in?
one is manager. Is this the one that you were saying? This is the one that we were on?
I don't know who did that.
But this is from the old.
I don't know where that. Let's do a get blame on it.
We have replication status now.
Yeah, we do have the status. I'm planning to use that. There's a update replication relationship status. I don't know.
I think that's left over from
Okay.
somebody. I won't say it because Jay gets mad if I say anything.
He's not here.
Oh, it's left over from the shit that
Yeah.
Tobias did. I think.
Okay.
No way. I
Okay,
can't
so
imagine
this one is
that.
not over. So which you said is already there? You said something's okay.
What?
You said it was already, we're already doing
So
that.
in the stats, in the get stats,
Okay.
there's a replication enabled field.
Oh, but
Yeah.
that is,
It,
but that is a,
no, I
that's
have a.
whether to support it or not, right?
So there is a replication enabled that gets is simply enabled. Yep, exactly. And then I have to do. Should we have a replication status that includes blah blah blah? So apparently I was thinking ahead.
There is a replication status on volumes, but
Yes. Correct.
We had a discussion about that when I was starting to look at switching it to a version object or whatever. And I was like,
Oh
well,
yeah,
I
that's
find
right.
like 15 different things, and they're all very similar. So what is our agreed upon something? I don't even remember what it was, but we kind of just decided to not change it. Right, it was very free-flowing.
we have more.
No, we're just talking about the. I didn't. Which one was the one that you were looking at? The John.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one that you can I see the one that you were just looking at that you said?
The capabilities?
To-do? Yeah.
So
What is
just look in my driver.
Yeah, we have replication enabled, replication type, and replication count.
Those were all.
So like
Your
line
capability.
1644.
Yeah.
Replication enabled. Right.
Yeah, but look, so above there I have a to do
Oh.
a status, right?
Oh, okay.
And I don't care. I mean, you could call it replication error, or honestly, it'd probably be good if we had a general version of this anyway for everything. So some sort of cluster error or device error that said needs attention, get back to me and ask me details, right? Whether it's replication or whatever.
Then will you get triggered to do something?
Where do you get triggered to
Yeah,
do
because
something?
right now it's only the schedule again.
So right now it doesn't exist. So that's the whole point. We'd have to write something, right?
So okay, so let's say if we add this one here, and then the manager will get notified by the.
In the manager, you would do something that
Similar.
interprets that response and looks for something and does something with it. Yeah. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think you're just saying that. I don't think you really believe that.
Good.
So if you look at the get volume stats in manager, actually, is that even in manager?
The driver. So let's say if we add this one, we keep the reports, and as manager gets that, manager will make a call to the driver to retrieve the replication status of all the volumes.
What?
No, I'm saying that. So let's.
Let's look at it from this side. Right? So periodic task, right? In the manager, there's a report driver.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things it does is it calls get volume stats, which is an absolutely horrible name. Fine, whatever. What you would do is in this volume stats,
Yeah.
you would do something like if